play a game?
Why, yes, I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Welcome to Shane's Place, where we're going to be discussing everything comics, geek, and all the other good stuff in between. This is Michael Tierney. I'm standing in for Shane. He will be here in just a moment. Right now, he's in the witness protection car, and we're trying to get his Secret Service guys to let him loose. So he'll be here with us quick. Today, you'll be listening to myself and
P. Alexander of CIRSOVA Publishing.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about Wild Stars comics and all sorts of geeky stuff. And now he's out.
Hello.
Out of
Getting
hiding there.
geeky in Little Rock. It's Shane Plays Geek Talk. Slightly delayed. Law of averages, that's going to happen sooner or later. I checked the time, and it was 1:02, but I must not have looked at a official clock. I was like, I'm fine, because I pulled that off so many times. But thanks to my guest, Michael Tierney, and P. Alexander of CIRSOVA Magazine. You've got a little idea of what we're going to be talking about today. Guys, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be here.
You are, I joked around with other guests. Saturday Night Live has the, there's a 5-time club or a 6-time club. Once you've been a guest host on Saturday Night Live so many times, you get a jacket and you get access to the back room where all the special stuff happens.
The hot tub, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so you guys are getting close. So anyway, there's Michael Tierney, author Michael Tierney, of many things, and no stranger to the show. Also a sponsor. Both, I also want to point out, just for transparency, both guests today, both Michael Tierney, who owns the comic book store and collector's edition comics, does Wild Stars, does the Beyond the Farthest Star web strip at
Edgar Rice Burroughs Inc.
Edgar Rice Burroughs, but is it Edgar Rice Burroughs, ERB.com?
Yeah,
EdgarRiceBurroughs.com.
yeah.
It's a weekly web strip is it Jolden Johnny Lucas does the art there for you?
Yeah.
And then you've got P. Alexander, who is publishes CIRSOVA Magazine, among other things. We're doing some cross promotion with CIRSOVA Magazine and Shane Plays Geek Talk. So just for now, the editorial content or the content today is going to be interesting, and I'd have them on anyway. But just for full disclosure, they are sponsors of the show. So let me run through my normal thing. I'm going to just start it like to run the intro again, Zach. Gosh darn it, just so that I can be on my groove.
Shall we play a game?
Why, yes, I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Getting geeky in Little Rock is Shane Plays Geek Talk. I'm your host, Shane Stacks. Thanks so much for joining, whether you're listening over the air in Little Rock at 1 p.m. Central on July 6th on 101.1 FM The Answer out of Little Rock, or online at 101.1 FM TheAnswer.com, which I saw that you tweeted that out, Alex. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So you might want to get up on the mic just a little bit, sir. So, or you can even pull it towards you if that helps. So, ironically, you're a tall guy, but you were away from the mic. So you would think you would have reach to the mic, but because of your tallness and that thing is set kind of short.
Also, you got these chairs that just kind of lean.
Yeah, you
back.
just want to kind of lean back. But yeah, you got to get up. You treat the mic. I'll let the listeners in on something. You treat the mic. I'm sure I'm going to get in trouble by some SJ warrior out there. You treat the mic like you're a red-blooded 13-year-old boy, and you think you can kiss her, but you're not quite sure. So you're right up on there, making up a reason, but you're not quite planting your lips on there. You found a reason. That's how you treat that mic. And I guess if you're a woman on the mic, you treat it like you're a 13-year-old red-blooded woman. You're right up next to that little boy you like. Or if you're one of the, how many phantom genders are there now? One of the 26, whatever.
1,000.
I don't know. So not to leave anybody out.
I'm from the old school of two.
Yep. So, all right. Anyway, I'm sure somebody out there got offended. That was not my intention. If we can't laugh at ourselves, folks, there's a problem. If you can't laugh at yourself, you're missing out a little bit on life. So, other thing is we do, if you're listening by podcast or Krypton Radio or on YouTube or one of the other ways this show goes out, I'm just glad to have you, whether you're listening live by radio or on one of those ways. I've already introduced my guest, so here's what we're going to do today. We're going to have, for the first time in a while, because the head of my news team, Sal, is just in an amazingly good mood. And he wanted to do a news segment today. So I let him do a couple of news items. So at some point, we are going to turn on the mic in the super secret newsroom. I would have told you that before the show, Zach, but I was dashing back because, I had to call nature. Nature called me or something. So you look what I got here, Zach. I got a 3-year certificate from Salem Media Group. So if people don't know, my show is independent of Salem, but I'm glad to have it broadcast on Salem Networks. But I also am technically a part-time employee for the times that I fill in for Dave Ellswick.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, look at that, a 3-year certificate. 3-year certificate, by goodness. That's got to count for something.
That belongs in a frame on the wall.
That's a major award. It should be in a box that says Fragile on it. What was that, a Christmas Story where he's like, Fragile? That's a major award. Okay, anyway, moving on. We're going to be talking with Michael and Alex today about what they have going on in general, CIRSOVA magazine, their various work. And then after the break, we're really going to dig into a new project that Alex and Michael are working on together, which is an Indiegogo for some new Wild Stars material, or a new Wild Stars project, I should say. And just tease us real quick on what we're going to be talking about after the break. So go ahead, Michael. Just real quick, what are we going to be talking about after the break?
The Wild Stars, a series of books, comics, portfolios. This is a project I've been working on really since the 70s, first published in 1984. The concept of the Wild Stars is 75,000 years ago, mankind made our first migration into space, colonizing the planets circling the brightest stars in the night sky. Those are the Wild Stars. Now, something that's never been told before in the Wild Stars, after all these decades of publishing, is why that exodus took place. We're answering that question now.
Okay, so this will be new material.
Oh, yeah. This is what Alex and I are doing is he really liked my new Wild Stars 4.
Right.
And he said, not only do I want to publish this, I want to do a reissue of all your other books.
Nice.
See, this is the 35th anniversary of my first publication of Wild Stars. So not only is the new Wild Stars 4 coming out, there's also, along with a glossary of all the characters, because it's a pretty big project, but he's also going to be doing a 4-book set where he's going to reprint the previous 3 in a matching format. Plus, wait, like a Ginsu knife commercial.
No, we got to save something. No, we got. Yeah,
okay.
That's not all. Wait till after the break. You'll just have to wait till after the break to see what else is all.
It's big.
The Wild Stars is crazy stuff. It's cool. Michael, I often share on this story, or on this story on the show. I share this story that I first in 1985, I heard this mythical place called a comic book store.
Oh yeah.
And this guy in 7th grade was telling me about it. And I walked in when you were over on MacArthur, and it was like, la. And I was like, I've never seen anything like this. And I remember buying Wild Stars books back then.
Right. Yeah.
You had the yellow cover that was foil, die cut, and
kind of a little
foil.
yellow jacket, bright design.
And then you had the big portfolio of the individual art pieces, and you've just been telling the story ever since. So, and there's some, and one thing I do want to ask you about before I forget. I reached out to Steve Chenault and didn't get an answer, which doesn't surprise me. That dude is busy. That's a busy guy. From Troll Lord Games, is it or is it not official that there's going to be some Wild Stars RPG content for the Amazing Adventures RPG?
That is official. I will be doing a Wild Stars Amazing Adventure 5e role-playing game based on my Wild Stars. Plus, Alex is also doing a little bit of RPG with the Wild Stars.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about that.
Yeah, they're doing a 5e core based thing, but me and my guys were old school. We like the old BX cook mold based stuff. So
yes, sir. Fist bump me right now, people. You're just gonna okay. And I love. Don't get me wrong. I love 5th edition and all of that stuff. But there's something deep in my heart that gets all excited about BX and Moldvay and old school D&D.
Yeah. So just this week on CIRSOVA.wordpress.com, I just posted up some stats for the 3 varieties of grief, which are Tyrannosaurid, space, reptiles. You got the 3 varieties: brown, red, and dire grief. And so
And they're grief like GRIEF. That's a WildStars thing. Okay.
And the thing I love the most about the dire griefs is that they have telepathic powers. They can turn invisible, and what do you think? WildStars 2 is old enough that I can kind of spoil this?
Go right ahead. Yeah.
Okay. One of them at one point gets their hands on this powerful alien artifact called the Marzanti Trident. So I'm like,
wait a minute, a telepathic invisible dinosaur with a trident.
Yeah, so
all right, I'm down with it.
If
An artifact.
So if your Dungeons and Dragons game needs a telepathic Tyrannosaurus Rex that can turn invisible and use magic items, we've got stats for it on the blog.
And let's be honest, what D&D game couldn't use that? I mean, let's just be honest. And that kind of gives you an idea of the just bonkers, crazy stuff. That WildStars is like science fiction. It's like pulp adventure. It's everything.
It's like every form of pulp adventure
it's
ever.
just all
it's every genre
together.
you can imagine.
Yeah. So,
but I pull it off, I hope.
Well, I think so.
Alien dinosaurs, space squids, and a Republican president. It's got it all.
It's got it all. So some people might say that would even describe the current political climate in America. And that's not what this show is about.
Yeah, it's the first Native American president, and he's a Republican.
Is he? Oh, wow. Okay. Send your emails to michael.tierney at not me. Okay. So now, but I want to be clear here. So Troll Lord Games, which publishes Castles of Crusades, and other games, and they have their own thing called the Siege Engine. That's their main game system. They have Amazing Adventures, which is a pulp version of Castles of Crusades, if you will, the game system. But then they recently also they've kickstarted a version of Amazing Adventures that runs on the Wizards of the Coast 5th edition game system. And they're going to be doing both. You can play Amazing Adventures in the Siege Engine, which is Troll Lord Games' main game system. If people remember, a few weeks ago, I did a show on the Victorious steampunk superhero RPG. That runs on the Sage Engine, or the Siege Engine. I always say Siege Engine. But there's also, like I said, the 5th edition version that's out now, or that they've kickstarted. So the RPG content that's coming out from Troll Lord Games for Amazing Adventures, do you happen to know if that's going to be on the Siege Engine, or is that going to be on 5th edition? I assume 5th edition if it was a stretch goal for the new Kickstarter.
It's 5e, so...
Okay, yeah, so it'll be 5th edition. Right. Okay. And a lot of people listening to the show will know what that means. Some won't. 5th edition is the newest versions of the Dungeons & Dragons game system, which is going like gangbusters. But you can run other types of games other than medieval high fantasy with it. So if that helps, tabletop role-playing.
With WildStars, now you have time travel.
Now you have time travel and telepathic T-Rexes that can turn invisible and have powerful trident artifacts, which is just darned exciting. Now, Alex, so clarify with me, what is the old school stuff you're doing? Where does that fall into this?
If anybody remembers the old toy box edition of Dungeons & Dragons from the early 80s, that's the edition that I've been writing these fan stats up for.
Okay.
So you might have seen it in Stranger Things.
This is a fan project.
Yeah, this is a fan project. This is not official.
So it's just for fun. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Well, because I'm kind of the school that some of the best game content you can get is from you read the stories and then you say, all right, these are cool ideas I can steal. I'll stat them up myself and just throw them into the game.
Right. And homebrew.
Yeah, homebrew.
Or either
stuff.
Homebrew or you're taking inspiration from other. Okay, so that's very cool. So there's official 5e Amazing Adventures WildStars RPG content coming from Troll Lord Games down the road.
Correct.
Which you're officially involved in. You're going to be helping write it.
I'll be writing it.
You'll be writing it. Okay. And then there's also P. Alexander on the CIRSOVA.wordpress.org or com website has some fun old school D&D, not even D&D Redbox. Before then, D&D BX, B/X, basic, expert, Mold
that's
rules.
One of the versions of the Redbox.
So, okay, well, that was Moldvay, and then Mincer came later. We're getting into the weeds, but some people listening might know. But anyway, it's old school D&D.
Yeah, it's old school D&D.
It's pre-advanced Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah, and you might want to use the expert stuff because these guys got a lot of hit dice.
Yeah, well, because the expert or the basic box took you to 3rd level, And then expert took you
was 4 through 14.
414. All right. You know, the D&D, I wasn't going to mention this today, but since it's kind of come up, the newest, there's this D&D Essentials box set, which is for new players and game masters, and it's a Target exclusive, and you can't get it. I don't know if people are buying them and hoarding them or if it's just that popular, but Target is sold out all over the place. So, but it's the newest version of the, buy this box. It has everything you need to learn how to either run D&D as a DM or play D&D. So, all right, guys, are there any other, I'm going to get us to a new segment. But before I do that, is there any other, are there any CIRSOVA related announcements or Michael, you're doing so much right now between Tarzan, Beyond the Farthest Star. Is there any other announcements either of you want to share?
Obviously, today is Saturday, so I had the latest episode of Beyond the Farthest Star was released today. At
ERB or Edgar Rice. Go to the Edgar Rice Burroughs official website, and they have a lot of web strips, and you get to read several for free.
Right. Now, a shortcut, you can go to my website, www.thewildstars.com, and you can scroll down the main page where you'll find links to the RPG Wild Stars, other previous issues of Wild Stars. You get the whole Wild Stars history, actually. Right. And you also find links to the CIRSOVA offering on Indiegogo, and you'll find a link to the Beyond the Farthest Star page where you'll get teaser images. Now, some of the stories I tease are sometimes an alternate for what's really going on because, hey, it's a teaser. Right. But you'll click on any of those images, and it will take you directly to the website where you can look at 4 episodes free of charge. And it doesn't even have to be my strip. You can go through any of their entire inventory, pick any of them.
And there's some cool stuff on there.
Yeah, and for a subscription, you get not only everything comes out every week, not just for me, but from all the other creators doing Edgar Rice Burroughs-based strips, you get access to their entire library. Huh.
All right. Well, very cool. Yeah, there's some neat stuff on there. And, of course, you have the, I think you've had the year anniversary of the 4-volume Edgar Rice Burroughs art chronology.
Yeah, that came out last year, and that's still doing very well. And next week, the new Overstreet Price Guide comes out with my annual market report.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely going to pick up a copy of that at your stores. So, collector's edition probably. That's the one I frequent the most. And that market report stuff is really good. And yours is one of the lengthier. A lot of people just send in a real basic, it was good or it was bad this past year for comics, but you really go into analysis.
Last year, one website did a 2-part dramatic reading of it on the web. I've never seen that happen before, where somebody does.
Was that Critical Blast?
Yeah. They did it in 2 parts of reading of my report. They're like, wow, that's fluttering.
Mr. R.J. Carter. R.J., if you're listening out there, you're always welcome to call in and chat for a couple of minutes. So, Alex, tell us, or P. Alexander, Alex, to your friends, I suppose, tell us a little bit about CIRSOVA for those of the listeners that don't know about CIRSOVA.
Well, since 2016, we've been running a local science fiction and fantasy magazine named CIRSOVA, where in our 2nd volume this year that kicked off with, as the cover story, Michael Tierney and Edgar Rice Burroughs' Young Tarzan and the Mysterious She, which was probably one of our best-selling issues. In June, we released our summer special that was focused on some longer stories, some novella and novelette length stuff. And right now we've been kicking into high gears trying to make this new Wild Stars project happen so that we can take stories in October for next year.
But there was also something else you did recently. It was a collection of a woman writer's fiction.
Oh, yeah, Lee Brackett.
Okay. So is that still available?
Yeah, that's still available. The newest one just came out, Black Amazon of Mars.
Okay, cool.
And for those who don't know, Lee Brackett is the person who did the rewrite of The Empire Strikes Back. She's the one who made the Star Wars Empire just
talking
really
about the screenplay.
Yeah, she really is what made it all click. She put the characters in there.
And the twist for Black Amazon of Mars is basically Darth Vader turns out to be a sexy redhead.
Well, okay then. Hey, that'll work. That probably is a long. I'm not even going to go down that route.
Now, CIRSOVA has also been nominated for awards too.
Yeah, we were a Hugo finalist in 2017.
Congratulations!
For Best Semi-Prozine.
I probably knew that and forgot, but congratulations. That's huge. So, all right. Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to go ahead and we haven't had a news segment in a while, but Sal, I'll tell you, Zach, and we're going to banter with Zach here after the news segment, but I'll tell you, Miss Pennyfingers, who showed up a couple of months ago, is just she's been great for the news team and just the general Shane Plays Geek Talk, back office staff. Sal is just head over heels. So I think that they're just, and in fact, I'll go ahead and share, they're getting married very soon. So yeah, it's just, he's walking on air, and she's been great. She just volunteers and helps out with everything around here. So anyway, Sal's like, we haven't done a news segment in a while. Can we do a news? I said, you betcha, Sal. So let's turn on the microphone in the super secret newsroom. Here we go. Working hard on a Saturday. Remember, folks, for every $1 of support by Patreon that the show gets, the news team gets a penny an hour raise. What a bargain. What a deal. So for my friend Justin, by Grabthar's hammer, what a savings. So that's his favorite quote from Galaxy Quest. So anyway, all right. I've got this official news here. People can hear the paper stacking against the desk. We got good news and bad guys. Good news and bad guys. We have good news and bad news. Which do you guys want first?
Let's get the bad news out of the way.
Get the bad news out of the way. What do you vote for?
Bad news out of the way.
Well, you already outvoted 2-1, but what do you vote for, Zach?
Let's get the bad news.
Bad news out of the way. This is bad news. You guys have probably already heard this, but Mad Magazine is going to cease publication.
I finally get an exclusive at my store for Mad Magazine and say they're going to quit doing it.
And they're going to quit doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a conspiracy.
I know.
So this, there's several outlets or whatever websites have reported this, but this story that I've got is from comicbook.com, and it looks like a while back, Mad Magazine went to bi-monthly, which a lot of people were like, ooh, that's not a good sign. And then now evidently, and I don't think it's officially been confirmed. DC Comics hasn't confirmed it.
No, I believe it has been confirmed now, yeah.
Has it officially been confirmed? Okay. Anyway, but now they're, from now until a certain point, it's going to be all reprints just to fulfill subscription requirements, people who've already paid for subscriptions through a certain date or whatever. And then after that, it's going to cease. And then I guess...
Well, actually, it's not going to cease. It's going to start doing reprints.
Well, they're doing...
And it'll stop going on the newsstand.
Right, it's going to stop going on the newsstand. But then I guess they're still going to do collections and, but there's not going to be any new Mad Magazine content. Now, here's my take on this. Growing up, I loved Mad Magazine. This is a very formative magazine. The humor, the cartoons, the satire. I learned a lot about how really movies and TV work by how they skewered the movie production process. Like I remember a very good example, like they were lampooning Knight Rider, and it had Michael Knight and Devin meeting, and this clock went off, and they were like, "What's that?" And they're like, "Oh, well, that's the alarm that goes off because if we don't show the car again soon, then the viewers get antsy, right?" And it got into my head, like, "Oh, that's how." Right, you got to show the car, so but there's so much great satire, cartoon, Spy versus Spy, and they would always lampoon with an incredible witty manner, like the current popular movies. You always knew it was kind of like Saturday Night Live. You could tell what was culturally hot by what was on the cover, by what they were lampooning right then, and it had all these great little cartoons in the margins and. I'm not doing it justice. In fact, I'm thinking about doing just a pure Mad Magazine tribute show. But also, I really recommend people go out and research Bill Gaines. This guy was a nut. He's a total character, broke the mold. He did things his way. He's as non-corporate as it would get. During his annual health review, once they got bought out by Warner Brothers or DC or whatever it was, then he got all corporate and he had to go do the annual health exam, and he would send somebody else down to do his blood work and pretend to be him. And he was just a nut. And they had Dick DeBartolo or DeBartolo. I don't know. He was with Mad Magazine for a long time. And I heard him tell a story one time that they had some country, like some obscure country that had one Mad Magazine subscriber. And that guy canceled his subscription. And I guess this was in the 80s. And Bill Gaines flew the entire editorial staff down to this country, and they went to this guy's house and knocked on his door and asked him to renew his subscription.
Wow.
So yeah, there's just it was more than just a magazine. But I'll be honest, and I love Mad Magazine. I have so many fond memories of it. But I haven't read one in 10, 20 years. Haven't bought one, and so like nostalgia can't keep a magazine going, I guess is what I'm saying. So did you guys have any thoughts on this?
Well,
At 35, I'm the young guy in the room, and I can't really remember when Mad Magazine was super relevant outside of when Mad TV first got started.
Right.
When I was 12, maybe 13, some of my friends maybe had a couple Mad magazines, but it was not really any sort of cultural touchstone for my generation the way it probably was for you guys.
I think I feel like once you got into the late 80s and 90s, it wasn't as relevant as it was.
It really has lost a lot of steam over the years. I remember when it first started out, though, it was actually a comic book.
Oh, was it?
I don't remember. I mean, I was pretty young at the time, but this is a retro
Well, it was started
memory.
by EC Comics.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then that's when all the
infamous.
other comic publishers got together, and EC was making too much money for them. And there was all the investigations about comics are corrupting the youth of America.
Right.
And they all said, okay, well, we're going to ban any use.
Corruption of the Innocent. Was that the name of the book?
Yeah, Seduction of the Innocent.
Seduction of the Innocent.
So they picked like a word out of every title that was a best-selling word or a best-selling title for EC and said we won't have any comics won't allow this on the stands with this name in there, and it basically wiped out his entire publishing line.
So he
took Mad Magazine away from being a comic book to a magazine because then he was free of the restrictions.
Right.
But what's even more interesting is one of his original creators was Jack Davis, who was a phenomenal storyteller and artist and a very iconic artist, and he did a lot of covers. Well, he leaves.
Yeah.
And, so Gaines gets complete control over it. Well, Jack Davis thought, I'm the brains behind this. I can recreate this.
So did he do Cracked? Was he the guy
No,
that
he didn't do
Cracked?
Crack, but he did like Get Lost and a whole bunch of other things. And he said later in his career that he didn't realize that the name Mad itself was worth $1 million.
Oh,
He
yeah.
had no idea.
Yeah, it was an institution for a while. And I don't know if Mad started it, but one of the things they got really into pop was like from the I didn't see that coming department or whatever, and you say, or from the you make up some weird name department before you give a piece of news item or a piece of news. Mad did that a lot, but and there, I don't know. There's so many. Bill Gaines, I think there's a book out there that I can't remember if it's DiBartolo or DiBartello, but I recommend people reading. It's called Good Days and Mad. And it's just about Bill Gaines. And this dude was a mad scientist, genius, cool dude. He was a total iconoclast. He, like I said, he got caught in the whole seduction of the innocent, mass moral panic. But he was amazing, just a real character. So, all right, that's the bad news. The good news is that Akira, the original Akira anime movie, is getting a 4K remaster and a new anime series, like TV series, that's going to tell the whole manga, not just condense it down to a movie. So, Alex, are you an Akira fan at all?
I used to be a pretty big Akira fan, yeah. It's been a while since I'd really given it much thought because, they released the comic edition almost 20 years ago
my first exposure to Akira was Marvel Comics started publishing it through the Epic. Was it the Epic
you're
imprint?
right.
And I was like, wow, I've never seen anything. That was that was probably my first exposure to manga, even though they printed it in
It was in the
flipped.
prestige format.
Yeah, it was a prestige format, but they reversed it.
Yeah.
Like you read it like a normal American comic.
Right, it was
You
from front to
didn't
back
read
instead
it.
of back
Yeah,
to
you
front.
didn't read it kind of like when you go buy a manga now or manga, however you say it. How do you say it, Alex? I'm going to trust you.
Manga.
Manga. All right. So
Stop, you're reading the wrong way.
yeah, there's literally when you go buy stuff like at Barnes & Noble or wherever you get it, there's a little warning that tells you, like on the back cover or whatever, this is how you read the manga. And it's completely reversed of how we read the flow of panels and word balloons and all that. So, because the Japanese, they read opposite we do.
Which brings up the thought that I don't think there's ever been a manga story that told a story in reverse.
Now you're just messing with my head.
Yeah, that's right.
So, well, in that case, everybody would stop being angry at each other. They told it reverse.
Hey, they finally told the normal
Yeah,
story.
they would stop being angry at each other. All the disasters and personal tragedies would not happen, and then they would just be little kids having fun with their families.
You know, I can't even remember the name of it, but there was a short experimental manga in one of those anthologies, and it actually was sort of a palindrome story where it worked both ways. You read it front to back. But like I said, I can't remember for the life of me the name of it. It's been probably 10, 15 years since I've read it.
If you happen to read it now.
Yeah, but it was a short piece. Like, it was maybe an 8-page.
Right.
That was collected
it was just
in an
kind
anthology.
Of a fun. Well, if you happen to remember it and then you happen to think of it, I'll add it to the show notes if you send me a link. But anyway, so according to Gizmodo, and the byline here is James Whitbrook, and the other the story we had about Mad Magazine, the byline from comicbook.com was Russ Burlingame. Anyway, so Akira's getting a 4K remaster. According to this, is Katsuhiro Otomo is returning to his seminal work for a brand new animated project, one that will go beyond what the iconic 1988 film already accomplished. Announced yesterday evening, and this is from June. This is from yesterday, so July 5th or 4th. So this was announced initially on July 4th at Otomo's panel at Anime Expo. Akira will be reborn across two different initiatives. First, an Ultra 8D HD remastering. I'm assuming that's the new 4K format that you're seeing everywhere now. With a Western release coming at a later date, so it's coming to Japan first, and then there's a I guess there's a Warner Brothers adaptation that's coming. I guess it's live action. I don't know, from Taika Waititi. This is the guy that did Thor Ragnarok. Taika Waititi, I guess that's how you say his name. And then it marks the first time Akira will be available in 4K. However, Otomo also announced that work has begun on a new anime project at Sunrise based on the original manga. According to Anime News Network, it'll be a TV series rather than a movie, and it's deliberately not a sequel to Akira, but instead a continued readaptation of the manga it was based on. The adaptation hopes to encompass the entirety of Otomo's original manga, something the movie couldn't do in just 2 hours. And then, as if Otomo wasn't busy enough with all of that, he also announced a brand new original movie he's currently working on with Sunrise at the panel Orbital Era, a sci-fi film set in the near future. So there you go. If you're into Akira and or Katsuhiro Otomo, it's a good time for you. So how about, does that make you excited, Alex? Is that up your alley?
I'd have probably been more excited about it a few years ago, but it's still pretty cool.
Akira holds up, man.
Holds up.
I love Akira. So anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that I'm looking forward to the memes, because all the anime nostalgia stuff, like a lot of the old stuff's coming back, and people who've never seen stuff before are seeing it, and so many people watching it now, they're so outside of the framework that those things originally came in, like just breaking their minds.
Right. They're like, what? It's, like
that's what's happening right now with Evangelion, and like people are like, it's so toxic.
Yeah, it's like, because they don't understand I don't want to go there. It's positive and happy here on Shane Plays Geek Talk. All right, so Zach, are you interested in this news? And this will lead us into our Zach banter.
Well, see, I haven't watched that yet, Akira.
What?
I haven't. You know the anime I've been watching, Dragon Ball, Ghost in the Shell. I haven't seen that yet.
Wow, this is me right up on the.
It's been out 30 years, man. You've had the time.
This is some seminal. This is foundational.
Hey.
This is part of your Padawan experience that I'm going to have to do for you.
But see, it was never referred to me, actually.
Okay.
Out of all the shows, that was never referred to me.
My forehead's throbbing. my temple's throbbing. Okay, man. We'll take care of this. I recommend it. It's an amazing piece of anime.
It's solid.
Yeah, and especially given that it was done in 1988.
Cell animation.
Yeah, everything was individually drawn. I mean, it's amazing. So anyway, just for time, I got to move forward. Zach, let's banter real quick.
Yeah.
And as people know, Sal. Now it's not Sal. In fact, he apologizes routinely. Says he doesn't have any control over the situation. His grandmother and her dog Muffin. If I don't banter with Zach, they get upset. And we had a pre-recorded show last week, so there was no banter. And then the week before that, we talked about how there hadn't been banter for like a month. So there's a whole situation going on here. I went and saw myself and the lovely Sheila, Zach. We went and saw Spider-Man: Far From Home last
Yes.
night. I enjoyed it.
Me too.
Have either of y'all seen it, Alex or Michael?
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Here was my take on it.
Go ahead.
And we can't spend a lot of time because we got to get to our break and then talk about Wild Stars and the Indiegogo and all that good stuff. Here's my take on it.
Yeah.
The first half was okay. The second half, it felt like a straight on. It earned its status as an MCU movie. It was like, oh, there's some crap going on here.
Yeah.
And it was really enjoyable.
I've heard a lot of people say the same thing.
Yeah. First half was like by the numbers, but there's a reason.
Right.
And the second half is like, oh crap, it's on now.
That's true.
So, and there's a sequence in there. I don't want to even say what it is because it'll spoil things.
Yeah.
But there's a 2 or 3 minute sequence in there that I never thought we would see in a movie.
Okay.
That was like straight out of some classic Spider-Man. And that's almost a, you know, you're pointing at me, you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
And it was straight out of some classic Ditko Lee Spider-Man comics.
Okay.
And that's all I'll say.
Okay.
And I'll also say that first end credit scene was a doozy.
Oh.
I've heard about that.
And there's an
blockbuster.
actor that reprises a role.
Yes.
I want to say, but I can't.
Yes.
I just can't because it'll spoil things.
Yes.
Oh, believe me, all my customers have told me.
Yeah, I clapped out loud.
I hear too much.
I was like, yes, when that role with the actor appeared, I was like, yes.
I think the majority of the people that were in there watched the movie with me.
Yeah.
We all were acting like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, but it was also just a doozy of an end credit scene.
God.
And now people, just so you know, there's 2 end credit scenes. There's one mid credits and there's one very end.
Mm-hmm.
But I went into Spider-Man: Far From Home like, okay, I'm just going to go watch it just because then I'm an MCU fan. But I really enjoyed it more than I was expecting, especially that second half.
I get what you're saying about the first half, but you know what? The humor carried that.
The
for
humor
me.
was good.
The humor, yeah.
Yeah, the humor was good, but and it's already made worldwide as of July 4th, which was Thursday, like $300 million something dollars. So, all right.
Yeah, it was smart when Sony said, "Okay, Marvel, you know how to make movies better than us."
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead and take Spider-Man.
And one thing about it is that words that I thought would never be said in the human
What's that?
history of the English language was the words "Aunt May is hot."
Yeah. Well, they've done that a little bit more in the comic books. And they've made her a little younger, where she's not just doddering old elderly Aunt
Oh, I mean, she
May.
was on her deathbed from the 60s.
Yeah,
I mean,
she was always like, oh, it's Aunt May.
I
gotta
think
get her
she
the
did die
medicine.
a couple times, actually.
Yeah,
so, so I guess she keeps coming back to life
it
and
was
getting
just,
younger.
it's just, but now it's, of course, Marissa Tomei.
That was great casting.
It really was. But they don't play her like super young. They play her kind of, I mean, she's still young, but she's Aunt May.
Like early 40s, maybe?
I'd
late
say
30s?
she's in her 50s,
Oh,
if I
50s,
had to
okay.
guess. Yeah, that's kind of how they're
believe
playing
you're right,
her.
yeah.
Somebody
but-
actually pointed out to me that when Marissa Tomei was first cast as Aunt May, she was as old then as the lady who played Blanche on The Golden Girls was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, they've changed her. When they first introduced her in Civil War, she looked a little younger. But in Homecoming, they put like the big glasses on her, and they changed her the way she dresses a little bit to make her just as she's like the older. She's not elderly by any means, but she strikes me as kind of in her 50s. But there's some good moments with Happy that I really liked, and then there's some nods to Tony Stark, and then we'll just move on. I enjoyed it more than I expected. I'll just say that. So another thing we have to do here, the Mobley Detective Agency. We talked a couple of weeks ago, Zach, that there was some interception of Muffin's cell phone communications and text and one of them talked about, I guess, when I had the live show where I was just giving flooding updates during the historic flooding. And evidently I said something that was offensive to Muffin. They found that. Can you play that audio? They sent this to me. So this was during June 1st, where I just did a live show where I was trying to help get information out on the flooding. Zach, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to banter today. Muffin's just going to have to stick it for once. So put him in his place for 1 week while we take care of real business here. So all I've said, that was heat of the moment. I regret it. I regret those words. It was a historic flooding, 500-year flood. Let's hear that again, Zach. I want to own what I did. Let's hear that again. Zach, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to banter today. Muffin's just going to have to stick it for once. So put him in his place for 1 week while we take care of real business here. Muffin, I just want you to know that you're real business, pal. I just want you to, that was heat of the moment. I was under a lot of stress. and I was worried about my community, and I was upset with the city of Little Rock for not updating. They had nothing on their social media about the flooding. It was just some community day parade thing. I don't know, party. I was under a lot of stress. So if you have any mercy in you,
Something you'll never do again more than once or twice.
Yeah, unless another historic flood comes along. And there's other things going on. The Mobley Detective Agency said that there was enact Operation Uno Digits, and then there's been no communication since. So they said that's actually a bad sign. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I got to get us to a break. And then when we come back, we're gonna talk about the Wild Stars, this new Wild Stars project, which we talked a little bit about before, earlier in the show, but we'll get into some of it. And I just want to remind people about Patreon. The show does have a Patreon. I never position it that if you don't support the Patreon, the show's going to go away. Having said that, I fully appreciate everybody's support. If they want to, I depend on both sponsors and Patreon. This show is different from a podcast. There's more overhead. And the sponsors, I love my sponsors. I'm looking at two of them right now. This show would not be on the air without. I wouldn't have been able to do those flood updates without my sponsors. But they don't pay for everything. So that's why also I let the community pitch in. And if they like this kind of thing, if you like what you're hearing, you like Geek Talk Radio, which I don't know of any other Geek Talk Radio shows out there, consider supporting. And a little bit adds up to a lot. I always have just a few Patreon supporters at a time, but that's worked out to hundreds of dollars of support over the years that the show's been on. So I really appreciate it. You can go to shaneplays.com or patreon.com/shaneplays, and for as little as $1 an episode. So I really appreciate it. All right. SciFi. Here we go. We're going to talk about, I got it right here, Alex. Are you a fan of thrilling adventure, daring suspense, and just a touch of romance? SciFi has you covered. Tell us again what SciFi stands for.
It's just a nonsense word for all intents and purposes.
Okay.
It'd take way too much of our time to go into it.
Okay. I remember we talked about it one time. I've got it on record somewhere. Since 2016, SciFi has been publishing the very best in contemporary fantasy and science fiction, retro pulp, and for you D&D gamers, Appendix N style fiction. Based in Little Rock, you can pick up their flagship magazine locally at Michael Tierney's The Comic Book Store on Treasure Hill or Collector's Edition on JFK in North Little Rock. Swing by one of Michael's stores and pick up an issue or find them on Amazon. It starts with a C, not a K. CIRSOVA, SciFi magazine. Check them out today. Let's talk about Game Goblins. Let's go ahead and do that. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or gamegoblins.com. Conveniently located at 1121 South Bowman, right on the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock, and staffed by friendly employees, Game Goblins has expanded their store size, and there's plenty of room for exciting inventory and tables for play space. For all your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. Game Goblins earns your business and keeps it. First-time customers, mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Tell them Shane Plays sent you.
Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.
All right, so guys, let's talk. We got about 9 minutes, roughly 9 minutes. So let's talk about the WildStars Indiegogo. So Alex, Michael kind of earlier gave us a kind of an overview of the WildStars, which is a literally 35-year project.
35th anniversary.
35th anniversary.
First publication, but I've actually been writing it longer than that.
So it's comic books, it's novel, it's fiction, prose. It tells
a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it tells this galaxy spanning.
It's huge,
story,
expansive.
It covers centuries.
The past, the present, the future, alternate realities,
and as Alex
previous realities.
As Alex was talking earlier, he statted up some of the creatures or characters from, and one of them was an intelligent Tyrannosaurus Rex that had psychic powers and could turn invisible and had a trident that was a powerful artifact. So there you go. So tell us specifically about the Indiegogo itself, Alex.
Well, we're trying to raise $8,000 to defray the costs of art and various things. We're putting together a book for the new novel that Michael's finished, WildStar Rising, which is a prequel and a sequel. It's the first look back at the final exodus and the fall of Atlantis, and it goes to the future where the ancient warrior finally has a chance to enact his plan to rescue his beloved from the center of a black hole.
Is a central character in this, or a figure, right? The ancient warrior.
Yeah, he's not the main character, but he's definitely a prime mover of.
And it's the ancient warrior with a capital A and a capital W.
Yeah,
yeah.
He's been around so long he's forgotten all his names. So
right.
It's just the nickname he ended up with, and he's called that by a bunch of different languages.
It's such a fantastic novel, and I think it builds so much on the stories that Michael's already done. One of the things that Michael tell you that I noted to him is that it makes the older stuff even better and makes you appreciate it more, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do the whole 4-volume set so everyone could finally get their hands on a standard volume. Because last year we put out Time Warmageddon, and a lot of our new readers weren't familiar with the WildStar setting. It was the first WildStars book we published. Even though it kind of stood on its own, it helps having the other stories in the background there. So that's why we said, hey, we're going to have a standard edition volume with the comics, WildStars 2 that was a comic that was expanded into a full-length novel with illustrations, the WildStars 3 that we put out last year, plus this new adventure. It is amazing, fantastic stuff. We really, really believe in this, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do this. We're trying to sell about 100 sets so we can make enough money to pay the artists, get some of our costs defrayed, and that's why we're going through Indiegogo.
Okay. Very nice. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Well, I'd like Alex to just keep on going with all the compliments. My head is swelling a little bit. I can't quite fit these headphones on anymore.
They're kind of stretching out.
That's right.
They're kind of stretching out.
I'm feeling pretty good.
So what? You've still got now. This is July 6th. So how many days? Is there 24 days left in the campaign?
I think about 23, 24. I want to say that it ends on the 29th, which is a Monday.
July
the last Monday of this month is when it ends.
Okay. And I'm pulling it up right now. I was looking at it earlier. Let's see here. So WildStars, people can just go to Indiegogo. That's INDIE GoGo. So like indie, like independent, and then gogo.com, and just search for WildStars. If you're listening delayed, the show does go out as a podcast. It'll be linked at shaneplays.com. That's ShanePlays.com. Podcast goes out on blog. Or on my blog, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Podbean, SoundCloud, YouTube, and more. And also, last but never least, we are carried on Krypton Radio. Krypton Radio is sci-fi for your Wi-Fi, kryptonradio.com. If you're listening after the live show, there will be show notes at shaneplays.com so that you can look it up. But they'll be linked there. But you can just go to Indiegogo.com and search for WildStars. Now, Alex, you got a couple of prints there. What's going on with that?
Yeah, we've got some prints of some Mark Wheatley art.
Okay, very nice, very nice.
Those were from Time Warmageddon, which we released last year.
How did that do? Was that
Time Warmageddon did pretty well. We sold about 100 copies.
Nice.
Or not 100 copies. We sold a lot more than 100 copies. We sold to about 100 backers, raised over $5,000 for it. The art there one of them was used for the back cover. The other is one that's never been printed in color before. So we wanted to do a color print that we could include in this Indiegogo to backers.
Nice. Yeah, and radio's in podcasts is an audio medium, but I believe in people's imaginations. There's a picture of it looks like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and there's sort of a lady leaping towards him, and if I'm understanding right, there's some sort of psychic or some sort of bolt coming out of her head. Psychic spike coming out of her head towards the T-Rex, and it's all in this very heavy red.
Yeah, this is a character who is used to manipulating other people's minds. Problem with a red grief, there's just not a lot to work with.
Yeah, so that's a grief. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's
one of those guys
T-Rexes.
we statted up last week.
All right, and then there's another picture. It's got two guys fighting with scimitars, and
That's
there's
the Battle of the Time Travelers.
So is one of those the Ancient Warrior?
No.
Okay, this looks fantastic. It's they're in armor. They're fighting with scimitars, and there's it's a mix of like computers and like medieval castle kind of, and there's like electricity and lightning shooting off where the scimitars are striking. Those look fantastic. So
now you can see them also at my website, which is another shortcut to go over to Indiegogo. Just go to, again, www.thewildstars.com. Scroll on down and you'll go to the Wild Stars 4. You'll see 3 of the covers. The 4th one will be coming next week.
Nice.
And it has links. The page will have a lot of the details about it, but you can also click on links. It'll take you directly to Indiegogo, so you won't have to try to do a search or anything.
nice. Okay, so and you're already a quarter of the way there. You got a month left.
Yeah, we've raised about $2,000.
Yeah, I feel like you're going to make it. So this is Wild Stars Rising, but it's also Wild Stars 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Wild Stars 4, but it's a prequel that's also a sequel that ties everything together and makes everything else even better.
Yes.
Okay, and people can get the basic perk starts at $20.
Yeah, that's $20 for the new book. We're offering them separately. You can buy them one at a time, or you can get a little bit off if you buy it as a whole set.
Right. So the different perk levels. Now, Indiegogo
and
is
one
different.
thing we haven't mentioned yet is the omnibus.
Yeah, we're doing
mention that real quick.
We're doing a hardcover omnibus. This thing's going to be over 700 pages.
Wow.
We've got Anton Oxenuk, one of our regular cover artists for SciFi, who did the cover of the Young Tarzan issue. He's going to be doing this. This is going to be huge, massive, book so thick you could kill a man with it.
Wow. Okay. So the different perks are you can either get Wild Stars 4, or you can also get older Wild Stars material, or you can get the big omnibus.
Yeah, you can get all 4 in a matching set, or you can get the giant omnibus that is registered as a lethal weapon.
Yep.
Excellent. All right, so we got 30 seconds left here. That's the Wild Stars 4. What is it? Wildstorm Rising?
Wild Star Rising.
Wild Star Rising. I've had, thank you so much, Michael Tierney and Alex of CIRSOVA Magazine. We got it in. We have to do it, guys. The bad joke of the week. You ready? Why did the banana go to the doctor?
I don't know. Why did the banana go?
That's good, but it wasn't peeling well. It wasn't peeling well. So, anyhow, yeah, folks.
That's worse than I thought it would be.
Next time on Shane
That was a
Plays.
little right.
By Grabthar's hammer. What a savings.
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.